Anyways, the next question is, wait, let me actually make this. Oh yes. So, as we know, with some conditions and sicknesses, it's quite taboo for us to talk about it freely when it comes to our families or friends and all those things. Do you feel like endometriosis is getting the awareness it needs and that it deserves? And do you feel like people could do better, like just you and I, regular people, could do better in finding out and educating others?
I think we could definitely do better. We really need to do better, because I think you mentioned in the beginning to say you don't know who is it going to affect, or you don't know who it is affecting. It
At
might
that
be
moment,
someone you know, someone who's pretty close or not. The most important thing I can say is that it's not getting enough awareness. We've got much where it's Endo Awareness Month, but we try because there's so little of us who are affected.
And I think it's also because you're little, because some people don't know yet.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Hence we
And
say
they have not
there's 1 in
necessarily
10 women. So in that 10 women, only 1 is diagnosed correctly and they know what's happening. The other 9, they don't know. They're just struggling
and going through a lot.
Going up and down and getting your pap smears and what. I'm not saying it's wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's wrong to do that. But sometimes it's just good to sit down and find out about your health. Guys, it is so important. It's not just endo. There's also, I think it's post-scan or something like that. I know people are suffering from, and the symptoms are almost the same.
Okay.
I know there's endometriosis.
The same as endo.
It's related to the feminine part of a woman.
You know, your sexual organs.
Your sexual organs,
yeah.
And sometimes it goes out of your sexual organ. So hence I'm saying and explaining that because we don't know about certain things, we don't talk about them. And because when you start asking questions from your elders about certain things, they'll say now you're sexually active. And it's not about being sexually active, it's just trying to find out what you're going through from a young age, so you can know what you're experiencing, you can tackle it.
You grow up knowing.
You can tackle it and you can grow up knowing. Let's have a different generation. Now that I'm grown and everything, we are trying our best to lay the foundation. Let's have people now who are stepping in with the information, and we walk into a clinic and we find yellow, because the color for endo is yellow. When you walk into a clinic, find yellow. You walk into a hospital, find yellow. Walk into a gynecologist.
And not just red for HIV, you know.
Yes.
It should be taken even further than that. And I'm not trying to downplay HIV in any way. I just think it's gotten its awareness. We all know about it to a point where if you can ask a grade 7 learner, they can know. You know, they can know all these things. And I think just to touch on what you were saying, it's quite important for us to try educate ourselves, because I mean, we can try blame our parents or the older generation for not educating us enough, but they also don't know better. They probably did not know. They could have been so many people affected with endometriosis, but they couldn't have known about it, or they couldn't have seek the attention or the help that they needed because of the situation in which they were growing up in, right? But I think it's important that we also try educate ourselves about our bodies, and that's the reason why I feel so passionately to be talking about these things on my platform, because I could be educating somebody who probably just does not even know how to approach their mother about these severe period pains they're having and all those things, and they could be like, oh my gosh, I feel like a pain, and they'll be like, oh yeah, so now you're having sex.
Definitely. So what you mentioned, saying that we must know our bodies, we must learn about our bodies, is very important. And with the education sector, they can actually try and introduce it from a younger age. Because
I feel like grade 4.
Because now we find kids who are 13, 12 going through their periods and all those things. So yeah.
And I think it's very important because now you notice, like what you're saying, you notice a lot of younger girls starting their periods way earlier. You know, for example, you started your periods in matric, you're like 17, 18, right?
Yeah, I was going on 18, guys.
I started my periods a lot earlier, and it just shows, because also we're from different generations, but you don't need to know that. But we're from a little bit of, like, we're not too far apart, but
I'm
you know,
16, guys. I'm very much 16.
Okay, so it's very important because, for example, even my mom, my aunts, and her cousins, her siblings, they started their periods when they were like approaching 20 and all those things. And when I started my periods, I was like, what is going on? And you know, it's very important that people get young girls get educated about these things at an early age, because when they are early, they grasp onto this information much easier. And now imagine if a parent or my mother, father, whoever in my life has to come talk to me about these things now. In a way, I already have formulated my own opinion at school, because obviously at school we talk about these things with our friends and all those things. I already have formulated my own opinion outside. So for her or him or whoever to come talk to me about it, I'm just gonna be like,
you know nothing.
Do you feel like endometriosis has a shadow of shame around it? Like, do you feel like women who may be diagnosed with it kind of carry that? Is it a shameful disease? You know, like sometimes we associate HIV with shame because you had unprotected sex with so many ex-people, you know. Do you feel like endometriosis has the same thing? Like, is there some kind of shame attached to it, you know?
To some extent, yes, because of the misinformation that goes around. To an individual, like maybe some women don't want to talk about it because we don't know what the cause is. You'd find that other people are blaming themselves to say, maybe I was a fast person, I did A, B, C, D. Now
I had sex at an early age.
Now this is the punishment that I'm getting. So that's what I'm saying, to some extent, due to misinformation, it does carry that kind of shame. Or with other women, they feel that they're not woman enough because they can't do simple things like carry a child or perform sexual duties to your partner. So it's all those small things that we don't pay attention to that make it look like it carries that shame.
And I think also it's very emotionally straining when it comes to the whole topic about conceiving and basically giving your nigga coochie, you know, all these phrases that we could be using as slang and all those things. And I think it affects women so much, because even in our culture as black people, like the black community, for example, the minute you cannot conceive and give your husband children, you're not woman enough. You're looked down, and especially if you can't give your husband a boy child, not knowing that the man actually is the one who determines the sex of the child. But that's a story for another day. So I think it's very emotionally straining, because now imagine you're at your in-laws and now you may have found out that you're pregnant, and you're like so excited, and it's still early days and all those things, and everybody's excited in the family and all of those things, and then now they find out that she miscarried, or you may have actually given birth to a still child, and now they put that shame on you, and they like, no, it's because Bagazi too much, she knows too much, it's because she
didn't follow culture
and all those things.
She didn't do
and
this.
in this whole thing, nobody actually thinks of this person could be suffering from something we don't know about. That's the first thing. The second thing is men need to be brought into this conversation, because even they contribute to a whole lot of things. Because before you feel shame outside, I feel like you feel shame inside, in your household. Because now imagine if you're unable to give him a child, because you know men are very passionate about having their surname carry on for years and
generations
and all those things. And the minute you don't give him a child, and it's like,
goodbye,
you're a failure basically. And it's very sad how we are going about this thing like this, because we need to change. If this is what our parents were doing, we need to be a better generation, a different generation. We need to be educating ourselves instead of blame shifting and always wanting to point the finger. What do we have to do, or what can we do to better certain situations, you know?
I think one thing I liked regarding the endo groups and stuff, there's actually a group for partners where they get to share that my wife or my partner goes through this and this and that. And
that's really
that
nice.
helps a lot, because sometimes when you're like, baby, this and this, and yeah, Mike mentioned that Sarah also, you know,
does this and that,
and it makes it so much easier because you don't have to explain. And then going back to the emotional parts of things, it's straining. you end up with depression, you end up on antidepressants, because now what you're doing is you're blaming yourself. You're blaming now your bloodline. You take it so far back.
Yeah, and you're always thinking so many
and
things.
you actually start believing that I'm not deserving of
children or
of
a husband
children,
or
I'm
that.
not deserving to be happy. Then it means that I'm destined to be alone, I'm destined to be suffering. You find all the smallest things and you start collecting them and making it seem so real to say I'm blaming this on myself. It's actually, it takes its toll. And for the fact that another thing that I think that you mentioned that's very important, not being able to carry to term. That's, I think, by far the worst thing ever. Losing a child,
especially if you've planned and you seem prepared and you actually want to have this and you want to now, and you feel stable enough to start your own family, and now
there's
it comes
no
and
woman
you're not
who
able
will
to
grow
carry.
up and say I don't want kids. No matter what you went through, somewhere, someday, somehow, you want to carry that child, and you want to experience the butterflies, you want to experience the kicks, you want to experience everything. And let me tell you something, when you're in that season of wanting a child, or just after you lost a child, everyone around you gets pregnant.
And that must take a very huge
Does it not make you look like a failure? Does it not make you feel like I feel I'm not deserving? Everyone, not even just people you know, but if you're at work, you only see pregnant people. When you walk in town
and it's
or in a
almost as
mall,
though now they're popping out of nowhere.
everywhere, like they're just reminding you that, hello, you failed to do this, watch us pop like this. And then in that essence, in the same breath, as much as you're seeing people who are pregnant, there's a lot of stories of dumped kids, killed kids, abandoned kids. So everything just gangs up on you like this, and you feel, yo.
Just to add on to that, there's somebody I know who actually also has endometriosis, right? And there's a video that she saw, and she saw this woman dumping her child in just like land, like it's just a forest or something, you know. And then she like reached out to me and she was like, I'm so depressed, like I'm so sad and all those things. Like I just saw this woman dump her child, and she does not understand that there are women out there who cannot conceive or cannot carry to term, who want their children, who want to have children and all those things. And it's almost as though, can you not then go into alternatives of adoption legally at a hospital? You know, there are hospitals that offer adoption. You can sign forms, do this, do that, and it's things that we can do instead of dumping children and all those things, you know.
It's a very, endo is just something else, because you find that the only way out is to now remove your womb, and after you remove your womb, what
you
basically
basically can't conceive. Yeah.
It's not every woman's path that leads to that. You find others that your doctor will actually encourage you, get pregnant.
As soon as possible.
Let's do this treatment, let's do that, let's do this, let's do that. And sometimes the results are positive. Sometimes you do get pregnant naturally, but you get complications. So like everything happens differently. We are not the same. You find people who struggle for 12 years and they didn't get kids. I didn't struggle for that long. Yes, I had my fair share of suffering, not knowing what's going on. But then immediately when I found out, I feel like God was like, okay, fine, baby, now I'm just giving you a break. Just to come back, because I fell into depression. I started taking antidepressants. I was just something else. One day they found me on the floor. I got to the hospital. They ran tests. They ran like they couldn't find anything. I stayed in hospital for like a week or something, and I was advised to start seeing what do they call them? Psychologists. Yeah, I started seeing a psychologist. And to me that was taboo, man. No, I'm black, I'm strong, I don't crack. Why do I have to go and talk to another? Why do I have to go and talk about to another person with my problem? And actually, when I got there, I told her that I'm not used to talking, I'm used to listening. And she said, it's fine, I'll get through. When we talk, I'll know what's going on. I was supposed to have 3 sessions, I remember, with the lady. But after the second session, she was like, there's no way I'm going to be through to you in just 3 sessions. No way. And then I was like, yeah, but no, I can't afford you.
Mm.
I can't.
And therapy is quite expensive. Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah,
But
that's
luckily, because I work in an environment whereby we are offered counseling,
true.
I went through the steps. It started telephonically, and then unfortunately, you don't go straight to face. You start telephonically, and then the person telephonically will start referring you. And I was referred, and by God's grace, I went back to the same person because I had mentioned, they put out a list to say which area you're in. I went back to the same person. I started opening up. I learned that I am not a warrior. I can't carry everyone's problems. Yes, I'm a very good listener. Like, I'm born to listen. But then I had to let it out. Once I started talking about it, I started understanding it. I started understanding how it affects the people around me because I'm always in a nutshell. And I let myself be vulnerable to the situation. And I don't want to lie to you guys, it's a hard journey, but I think everything is coming along. Everything is coming along. The people I met throughout the journey are quite amazing. The experiences I went through, as painful as they are quite amazing. I got pregnant. I do have a beautiful baby girl. She's, 30 months? 2 years, 6 months.
Yeah, 2 years, 6 months.
And it wasn't an easy pregnancy. It wasn't a smooth sail. They had to tie my womb at some point so that I don't get a miscarriage. They call it tying your womb. I don't know what happens, guys. I just know I went to theatre and they tied my womb. When it was time to give birth, I had my C-section. My one ovary was removed because it's fully covered with endometriosis. I want another child, but circumstances and everything will determine if I have another child or not. And in everything, yes, we have treatment and all those things, but let's not forget to pray. Let's not forget to always put ourselves in a position to say, you know what, I'm vulnerable. I know I might not get what I want at the end of the day, but you must focus on the goal at hand. Don't be negative on anything and all those things. So, in plain simple term, endo is...
It's a lot.
It's basically just like a child. You learn every day. You learn every day. I think with such conversations, there's also things that I learned, though I'm the one who experienced it. I think there was SABC 2 that aired a chat with one of the endo leaders. And because people didn't know about it, we didn't get to, not a lot of people watched it. We've got races, we've got a lot of things. So yeah.
And I think more platforms should actually start educating us about these things, Like I said in the beginning of the video, it could affect anyone. It does not pick your race, your age, your socioeconomic background, whether you're rich or poor or anything. It does not pick, literally it could affect just about anyone. And it's very important for us to start talking about these things and basically, I don't know if there's such a term, but we need to untaboo the taboo things.
Yeah,
we really need to start having uncomfortable conversations with ourselves, and we need to put ourselves out there to want to learn more and all those things. Because right now, if I could tell you, I've learned so much. I knew this much, and now I know so much of information about endometriosis, and I could possibly be educating the next person. So okay guys, so that actually sums up our video together, and we've come to the end of the video now. I really hope you have learned something and that you have gained some kind of insight as to what endometriosis is all about. And yeah, do you have anything else to just add in your closing statement?
Okay, going back to what Tabang said, it's important to know yourself. It's important to learn about your body. It's important not to ignore anything that happens to you. Be it irregular, because every single time something irregular happens, you shy away from it. So try and get out of your comfort zones. Try and start learning different things. I'm sure if you Google and say a list of diseases, and you'll find so much going on there. And then more importantly, just love yourself, embrace yourself, and enjoy being in your own skin. you don't know what's causing your acne, you don't know what's causing your weight gain, you don't know why you have brackets, you don't know why you have this and this and that.
Yeah.
So stop looking at the next person and saying, or
I
envying
should-
them,
yeah,
saying, I
definitely.
wish I looked like
that person.
It's nice to compliment people, but when it gets to a point where you want to look like them, it
or
becomes
you're
a challenge.
jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse
Don't be too hard on yourselves,
Yeah.
because I think it's very important to establish loving yourself first before you want to go give your love out there, you know, because the minute you go out into the world, literally people are rude, guys. People could say the most rudest things ever, but if you're not grounded in who you are, and if you don't love yourself, you will easily lose your identity at the hands of many, because then if you don't love the fact that you may be living with endometriosis and you are who you are and that's who you're supposed to be, because I believe that it wouldn't have just been a mistake, you know. I think our destiny and God's plan for us plays a very huge role in how things unfold in our lives, you know.
Yeah.
So instead of you wanting to have somebody acknowledge you about your disease or whatever it is that you may be going through, love yourself with that thing. Love yourself with whatever you have, you know. When you go out into the world, they'll be like, oh my gosh, wow. Instead of them saying, Pegeni, that endo person, you know, now they're not even going to see who you are. They're just going to see your disease, or they're just going to see whatever it is that's affecting you. They're going to see your anxiety, your depression, whatever it may be. They will not see who you are. But if you love yourself and value yourself, then I believe that who you are is going to shine through.
Yeah, I always say zithande, zincome, iba nomona ngawe, ube selfish ngawe.
Khana ka wena.
Khana ka wena.
Khana ka wena. Khana ka wena. Like, honestly.
Wow, guys, I enjoyed this
Honestly.
so much. Thank you.
Bye, guys. I will see you in the next episode of Everything Women. Thank you.